Oh, hello. What's up, people? It's me, NBZ. I hope you're all doing well, staying safe inside. Weird times, so why not do a video where I just go through my childhood collection of PlayStation 1 games, all in this box here. It's very dusty on top, very dusty. I can see all the motes of dust flying around my room. It's not great, it's not a good indication, but hey, it's sunny outside. Can't go outside, but it's sunny. So I thought I'd just walk through these. Let's just pick one out at a time and talk about them, I guess, and remember stuff about my old PS1 games. Well, we've got to start off with this bad boy, Crash 2, Crash Bandicoot 2. The only Crash Bandicoot game, the mainline ones I owned. Like this a lot, obviously very difficult game. I've since replayed it on the remastered collection, and it's still good. It's one of those games I think that still holds up decently. Like, a little bit weird controls, but I had a fun time with Crash 2. I don't think I ever got that far in it. I probably got to, the level I remember the most is when you're riding on the polar bears, and you got the whales, the killer whales jumping out at you. I could never really get past that level when I was younger, so that scarred my soul. Crash 2, nice. From Crash 2 to Crash Bash, the greatest party game there has ever been. Mario Party does not hold a candle to Crash Bash. Crash Bash is, in fact, legendary and the best party game ever made by human beings. It's very good. My favourite is probably the Pogo one, where you have to paint the stage. Really nice. Very good fun. All right, here we get into the weird cuts. Dancing Stage. I don't remember. This was a Konami game. So Konami made this, and it was a dancing game that you use the dance mat with. I believe we still have the dance mat. I don't know where it is. It's hiding somewhere in the cupboard. And am I going to root through it? Probably no. But this is like one of the rare games that my sister actually played, or we got for her for the purpose of having her have some games. She had some games back in the day. It features S Club 7, so that tells you all you need to know about Dancing Stage Party Edition for the PlayStation. Now, this is a classic. This is Rugrats in Paris, an excellent video game made by THQ. So this was like a theme park Rugrats game where you ran... Oh, Jesus. Put the box down. This was a theme park Rugrats game where you ran around the island and you did like lots of mini games. There was a shooting gallery in it, I think. There's a really hard boss fight at the end that Bally and I never managed to beat. And maybe I should go back to it today and finish it. And then I can tick it off my backlog, yeah! Now, if you want to talk about underrated licensed game, this is probably top tier of underrated licensed game. Toy Story 2. It's just great. Like, you get to explore the whole house. There are levels by, like, the construction site in the movie, where you climb all the way to the top. There's the collector guy's house you go to. So many, like, spaces you explore with the toys. And it's actually pretty fun. Like, playing as Buzz is great. He has like a good tool set to like fly around and shoot people with. So, as weird as it is, like, the Toy Story 2 is actually a really good PlayStation game. Worms Armageddon. This is probably the unsung hero of my multiplayer time with the PlayStation back in the day. Mainly because my friends would come round and, like, there were some other like driving games, but I wasn't very into driving games, so we didn't really do that many of those. This was like, you could put 4 players on a map, everyone had their like different weapons, they had to shoot at each other and obviously just take out the opposers. You could put 4 people on a map and just have them shoot at each other, and the winner was the person who had all their worms alive at the end. It was very fun, and I haven't played a Worms game in a while, but Worms Armageddon, it's pretty good, it holds up pretty well. Talk about weird license game, Mission Impossible. So this is kind of, it's almost a James Bond game, right, which makes sense, because Mission Impossible, 007, like, it's kind of playing in the same ballpark, right? But like, I remember there was one level where me and my friend Charlie, we had to look up a guide for it, and it was about going through this hotel and you had to poison the wine of some woman who would then like die, and you drag her into the bathroom. It was really weird. Probably as a 10/9-year-old I shouldn't have been playing this game. It was really difficult as well. It kind of like mixed between stealth and action and weird puzzle solving. I had a good time with it, despite the fact that I generally had to use cheat codes to get to levels that I wouldn't have been able to get to otherwise. This is Football 98, I believe, is the designation. Does it say 98? I think there's a sticker covering it up where it would say it. But this was one of the first games I got with the PlayStation, and It's just a football game, but it's like a weird unlicensed football game. It says FIFA Pro on it, so I wonder like what were the agreements with FIFA back in the day? Because there was FIFA that I do have as well. You'll see in a second. But this was like really a decent football game, and I don't know what happened to this series. Maybe it disappeared. Maybe it turned into FIFA. Who knows? Gran Turismo 2. If you didn't own Gran Turismo, it's like people who don't own the album Thriller or who don't own Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. It's one of those games that if you live in the UK and you owned a PlayStation, you probably owned Gran Turismo, right? Even though I'm not a racing person, I'm not into it, like, I had to own Gran Turismo. It's more realistic, and I had a driving wheel for this thing, which I think got thrown away, which is a bit of a shame, but Gran Turismo is fun. On that note, we've also got Colin McRae Rally, which even more hardcore, right, because it's a rally game, you're like first person in the cockpit, and apparently I have a third driving game that I didn't even remember owning, but apparently I own Toka World Touring Cars too. Where did this come from? It was $29.99 at WH Smith's, which is, I wouldn't say that's a good price. I don't know, maybe it was back in the day. I mean, games are much more expensive now, but Codemasters, so maybe this was good. I have no memory of this. Another PlayStation classic that you couldn't own, Tomb Raider 3. Of course, you couldn't own a PlayStation without owning at least one Tomb Raider game. I was very bad at Tomb Raider. I also kind of retrospectively think the Tomb Raider games are just bad. So it wasn't really the fault of me being a bad video game player as a child. More so, the game design in this series kind of stinks. It's not great, but I never really got anywhere in it. I remember trying to find cheat codes for it and never really finding good ones. So it's probably the game I've played the least out of like the mainline single player stuff on PlayStation, which maybe I should go back to it, but I don't think I want to play Tomb Raider. Talk about an underrated gem, Mickey's Wild Adventure. So this is a platformer. I think it is a remake of some other Mickey game that was on Super Nintendo. It goes through the eras of Disney. It starts with Steamboat Willie as the first level, and then you kind of go through all these different eras of Mickey Mouse. And it was really fucking hard. I enjoyed it as like one of the earliest 2D platformers that I'd played, but it got challenging very quickly, and it had the kind of save system and live system, which meant you had to start from the beginning every time, which is not good, and I'm glad games don't do that anymore. But I would like to go back to this one day, maybe with save states, figure it out on an emulator or something, and give it another shot, because Mickey's Wild Ride certainly was wild. Now, I never owned a Resident Evil game, but I did own Dino Crisis from the same team, I believe, or at least few of the same people at Capcom worked on the Dino Crisis franchise, as did Resident Evil. I, again, never got really far in this. There's a point in the game where you get to a giant T-Rex and you have to like run downstairs across the thing, like avoid him basically, and I couldn't get past it ever. I always got eaten by the T-Rex. But like me going back to it now and like looking at it, I think I would recognize a lot of the ways in which it's similar to Resident Evil, like the camera angles, things like that, and the kind of setup of it. It's a cool idea. Like it has those horror elements to it, but because it's dinosaurs, I was way more into it. So even though like there's corridors you walk down with like blood and people murdered on the floor, as a 10, 11-year-old, however old I was when I played this, I kind of got down with it because I was like, it's fine. They died, but they died to dinosaurs, which is cool. Now, if you're a fan of the NBZ channel and know its history, then you'll be a fan of Mary, Kate, and Ashley Winner's Circle, everybody's favorite PlayStation 1 game that me and Nick did a 3-part series narrating my journeys through this. So you can actually go and look up that series on this channel. It's weirdly quite a good game. I wouldn't say it's good. I would say it's unique. You have like open world horse riding areas that you can go and collect things in. There are Jodhpurs. It's for a game that was for my sister. I surprisingly enjoyed this game quite a bit. It's okay. It's alright. You did alright, Mary Kate and Ashley. You did alright. So I just found a 4th racing game. What? Did my dad think I liked racing games? We got F1 2000 here as well. So I guess I own Colin McRae, Gran Turismo, Toka World Tour, and F1. What is my name? Bally? Like, hello? I apparently just had a lot of racing games on PS1. I think this one was pretty difficult because it's F1, so it's more like hardcore racing. I can't tell you much else about it. And then rounding out our kind of sports games that we had obviously FIFA 2000, which I alluded to before. This, funnily enough, as someone who doesn't care for football, who doesn't watch it anymore, this is probably one of my favourite PS1 games, alongside, like, we'll get to the others, but this is probably top 3 PS1 games. It's really fun. Like, the mechanics of the footballing is great, like, you're passing and shooting and everything. It was kind of easy as well, and like you would go through seasons, and me and my friend would go through seasons like as different teams and just get to the finals and win the cup and all that stuff. And it just felt good to play. I think because the AI was bad, there were matches where I would just go and win 11-0 because I was just... It was very, very easy, but I enjoyed that. I enjoyed just destroying people in FIFA 2000. It's a good game. Surprisingly holds up. And here's the last sports title, Brian Lara Cricket. Shout out to cricket games, man. They don't exist anymore. I wish they did. Cricket is a great sport that should be appreciated, and Brian Lara Cricket, not the best video game, but like it gave me a bit of a cricket fix, whatever you want to call it, when I was younger. So shout out Brian Lara. You're a good dude. And now we come to my 2 favourite PlayStation games, both for different reasons. The first one, let's talk about Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I probably played this more than any other game, and it was because it was very easy to kind of see everything you wanted to. It obviously goes through the entire story of the first movie, and you play in the Gungan Swamp, you play at Theed, you obviously fight Darth Maul, he's the final boss. But you could put in cheat codes to where you could be invincible. You were able to skip to any level you wanted to. It was great because it was a hard game, right? As a lot of these games were back in the day. And it was great for me to just experience all the Star Warsness. My favourite level was to go to Tatooine and I would just run around and just murder everybody. You could just kill whoever you wanted. It was almost like a GTA level of like interactivity with the environment. That's wrong. That's not true at all. But you know what I mean? Like you run around, you kill all the random people in the market. It was just stupid fun. So I had a great time with Phantom Menace. I still look back fondly on it to this day. But it's probably not the best game that holds up. I would say my favourite PlayStation game, the one that holds up the best, is the original, Spyro the Dragon. A fantastic platformer. And funnily enough, here we go. It's right over here actually. Here's the Reignited trilogy. So there you go, you got 2 Spyros in one. And yeah, so this was what I grew up with. I actually ended up getting a lot further in this than I thought I did, because when I replayed this, I was like, hey, I didn't realise I actually know a lot of these worlds, and I didn't realise I did. So, Spyro the Dragon, the best PlayStation game, my favourite. It's just really good, it's well made, it's bright, colourful, fantastic platforming, good exploration. I like it a lot. So that's my PlayStation collection, but before we go, I've got one more fun thing that I found while rooting around in my old games. Here is my original box for Fire Emblem The Sacred Stones. Look how well that's held up, man. Like, I think the problem with Game Boy Advance games was that they came in this cardboard, right? So, like, if a flood happened or water damage, like, that's done. That's not going to hold up as a case. But it still does. It's got everything inside it, including... These manuals used to be thick, man, real thick manuals. But the other thing it's got inside of it, which I probably should have paid attention to, is a nice poster for Path of Radiance. Lovely, look at that. Advertising to me to buy Path of Radiance. And I didn't listen to it, so. Anyway, fun trip down memory lane. I hope you're all doing alright. That was a fun way to relive all my old PlayStation memories. So, thanks for watching, folks. I'll see you next time.